Fabianski in goal. Two centre-backs, Ashley Williams and Federico Fernandez, strong, competitive, disciplined, obviously been playing a lot of games together. So them two really controlling the spaces in front of them, and obviously the width of the full-backs and connecting that back four together, but also them really controlling the centre forward, and obviously any runs from the guys, or these three guys that would end up in between the lines. So so that was the reason for them to Rangel, because of his experience and again his discipline in those situations, and of course offensively as well. I think in terms of his distribution, we knew if we did get a turnover in these situations here, he's one that can he can find a good pass. He could maybe set off our wingers or find good passes inside to these guys to try and trigger a counter attack. Also, and then again trying to use his experience in the wide areas to defend those situations, along with his winger and obviously the midfield cover. And then Neil Taylor this side, physically at that point 1v1 situations, which we knew we'd face a lot in this game. He's very good at those 1v1 situations. Not so good offensively, but defensively we knew 1v1 any situations he faced. He had good feet. He was very difficult to beat at that time, and that's why we played him. Jack Cork. Again, I remember playing him as the central one. It was more of a diamond type, but really he was the central one that was controlling the space in between his centre halves, and also more centralised with these guys and these guys that were in the middle. So Jack Cork, he's very disciplined and good at breaking up play and trying to give it to the guys that are probably better technicians with the ball. But he was very good at breaking up play, reading the game, and that's why we used him there. I think it'd be John Joe or Key. I think within the game they were flipping sides, but obviously Key himself, if I use Keeson Young, very good legs, technically very good, can understand the game plan and discipline very, very well. Has the legs to reach box to box and defend when he needed to, and accelerate the game when he needed to. So we used him as well, in beside Jack. And then obviously the other side, John Joe. We knew John Joe in terms of when his mind was right and how he was on it. He can be very disciplined and very good in those situations, but what he does have is the ability on a turnover to find really good passes, short and long. He has the quality to find cutting passes that we might need on a counter attack, to set us off on a counter attack, and also keep the ball when needed. So we used John Joe there. Sometimes it became more flat, obviously the deeper we were, really trying to condense those spaces. But and then obviously Sigurdsson was more, sometimes he would be into that deeper position if we were trying to force them out around us, but really his job was to take care of the two midfielders, or if one had stepped on, the more deepest midfielder. If there was two, obviously the deepest midfielder on the side of the ball. So whenever they had to come out, they had to come back out around us, and if they came back out around this way, he could always move across, how we moved back up, how we got to the cover, move across, and obviously we'd shift back in and shape like that. So that's what his role was. And obviously the wingers were in inside positions. I think I've just moved them around. Really, if anything, to help the fullback in a 2v1 situation. Sometimes when there was a real overload and the fullback was inside here, so we had the back four like that, how he would drop sometimes into an even deeper position, which lessened the chances of a counter attack, but obviously made it a lot more difficult for Arsenal to try and break us down. But we knew, as I said, when the game would progress, that we had the personnel on the pitch, definitely in the wide areas, to counter-attack through Montero and Nathan Dyer, with the quality of passes and from John Joe, the physical running from Key and Gylfi. Sigurdsson, we had the engines to be able to go, and then obviously making that change on 70 for Bafetimbi Gomis. We made the sub, kept Gylfi on there because we knew if we arrived there that he's very good at arriving in the box in those situations, and then Baffy to try and get us that goal from a crossing situation, and that's how it worked. But I think the makeup of the team and the personnel lent to this game plan and how we needed to deliver it. If we talk about, so in terms of like Arsenal, a lot what happens is they have the striker, the three that they have often play inside in these inside positions here. So using the three midfielders that we had was to make sure that these areas were really condensed. The fullbacks are the ones that give them the width here. And then obviously they have two midfielders, sometimes one will advance, but generally they're in these positions and they leave more or less two as a balance behind. So of course we used our wider players. It was more a 4-5-1 out of possession what we did, and whenever we really condensed the central areas, made it difficult to play through, because we know that's a big strength of Arsenal's. And we tried to really leave it to the wide areas, but still having a good situation wherever the ball came to a wide player. You have these type of runs that we always had a midfield cover and the winger working in these situations, and we were able to shift across and be in real compact conditions still in the centre. So whenever they had to, if they couldn't attack us down the wide, well, central, sorry, and then they had to come wide, we had good covers in the wide areas, and then we always tried to make them, force them around our shape rather than through our shape, because what Arsenal want to do, and when they're at their very, very best, is play through you, and they're very good at it, the ball speed, they're interchanging. So we tried to condense that space here, so that whenever they did try and play through, we had good bodies to be able to disrupt them, and then also when they did ever try and circulate the ball, it was always coming back around our shape, which allowed us then to move. And then of course, as I said there, if we could get to the last 20 minutes, we made the change with the striker that came on with Bafetimbi Gomis, and then went a bit more traditional, kept the wingers for a breakaway. But we knew, you can see here with their balance, because they were really starting to push on, they even started to commit to this. We knew the real dangerous areas against them with Mertesacker's pace, especially with the wingers that we had on the pitch, Montero and Nathan Dyer at the start, that these guys could definitely use their pace down these wide areas if we ever turned the ball over in here. If we could defend well and stay intact, we knew that we'd get an opportunity to break down these wide areas and use a crossing situation. And I think when we got to the crossing situation, which happened, what we talked about in the week, and what we kind of trained as a principle anyway, was whenever we faced these situations, I think it was Montero that ended up with the ball in this wide area, we always had to have one player going across the front, especially with Mertesacker. We thought physically he's the most dominant aerially for Arsenal. We didn't feel that the other defenders in Arsenal's had the aerial strength or dominance as he did. So what we wanted to do was try and distract him with a run. So we always said that in these situations here, we wanted a player, preferably not the striker, to make that run right across. It's kind of like a sacrifice run where you kind of take his concentration and his movement away from the goal, or as far forward into the goal. And we knew that the back post area is where we wanted to score the goal, or try and put the cross whenever we got to a situation where we could cross the ball. And we also knew then and it ended up being the perfect situation where it was actually this side where the cross came from Montero, where we actually took Mertesacker out of the way, or distracted him. And then we knew with Monreal that definitely physically we could dominate. So the ideal situation when we put Gomis onto the pitch was, one, to take the space across, and then for Gomis to make that peel onto the back one. And then obviously the ball that we needed, which we said we wanted it to be a back post cross, is then using the right timing and then the physical dominance over Monreal to score. And it actually, it's funny enough, we actually spoke about it before the game. That was the game plan, and of course if before that you can get a breakaway and you could score in this situation, and then we would do it. But we knew it was going to be difficult to do that. We'd have to withstand pressure. But as they committed more men forward as the game went on and the crowd grew more frustrated, we knew that there'd be an opportunity, and it might only be one or two, but the opportunity came and we executed it perfectly. And obviously Gomis onto Monreal, we knew physically it was no match for Gomis. And although we had to wait a second or two for the goal line technology, it was a perfect goal, perfect in terms of how the game plan went. Yes, you have to ride your luck a little bit with Arsenal in these situations here, but we defended magnificent all night. And I think from the effort and commitment to the game plan and how the players were, they deserved definitely something out of that game. If not, and the way it happened was the win. So yeah, it was a satisfying evening for everyone, for the players, for us as a staff, tactically, and then obviously in terms of winning at the Emirates against Arsenal for the club. It was a special night.